Hi, I'm Daz, I'm the producer of The Drift, and we're back at Pinewood Studios here at Turtle Canyon Media with Nick in the background. Nick, you allowed to wave? That's Nick. And we're now at the stage in the production where we're looking at grading, or colouring, as it seems to be called more and more these days. And for those that don't know, that's kind of follows sort of two sort of processes from sort of our point of view. The first one is to make sure that the film looks conformed in terms of using different cameras and making sure they all look the same. So, for example, we shot on a documentary camera, the EX1. We also shot on a couple of DSLRs that were 60D and a 7, and they're all slightly different. I mean, even the two DSLRs are slightly different in look and feel, and certainly different from the EX1. And you can look at the other drift diaries as to why we shot with different cameras and that kind of thing, and why we did that. You know, we've got no money, we use what we can, and stuff looks cool. Small cameras are good for small places, that kind of stuff. So, and as much as we did in during sort of the pre-production planning to make them look the same, we set all the settings so that when you flip from one to the other, they would look similar. You don't ever really achieve a true similarity, and that's where the grading comes into it, and not to say that will solve all the problems, but certainly make it look more smooth. So when you're cutting from one shot to another, it kind of looks more seamless. So that's like sort of the first level, and then the second one is actually to create a sort of look and feel. So from making it look right to making it look cool or good. Lots of films, particularly these days, have a sort of feel to it. It's like a bluey feel, or a green feel, or orange feel, or whatever, or a natural feel, or artificial sci-fi look. So what we want to then from that is to then create a more sort of movie feel to the film. The film's quite sort of documentary in style, and that's deliberate anyway, but at the same time it's still 2, 3, 5 to 1, it's still a movie, and there needs to be sort of edge to it to give it that kind of sci-fi look, and allow the audience to kind of sort of disappear more into the story. So so we're doing that here at Pinewood, which is really cool, thanks to the guys here at Turtle Canyon. So today really has been sort of just looking at how we're going to do that. What's the workflow? Because everybody does things differently, slightly differently, and it's making sure that what we have done back in at Drift headquarters is going to work down here at Pinewood. And that's kind of sort of the R&D, checking out, making sure it all works. So that's been going on today, but also over the last sort of few weeks, other things have been happening in the background. So the visual effects are moving forward quite nicely. We've got a few more artists involved, which is really good. So we're definitely into sort of the compositing area now, which is where all the layers of the visual effects are coming together with the live action, and Helen and her visual effects team are moving forward on that very nicely, and that's really helping now with the edit and the pace and everything. It's starting to really look like a film, so that's really good. CGI side of it, moving a bit not quite as quickly, but that's because it's obviously more complex, and also we have managed to find a couple more artists that are sort of 3ds Max ninjas who are starting to help us out, but they've got a bit of a steep learning curve, because again they've got to learn how we've done it so far, and again it hasn't necessarily followed the convention, because the film doesn't follow the convention. We make these films differently because there's not many of us, so we have to not so much cut corners, but we have to sort of get ahead of the game in some areas, which can then hit us later on, and that's happened to a certain degree on this production, but now we're kind of picking that up and introducing these guys to this other way of doing business, and things are moving forward, so that's good as well. And the last thing sort of happened more recently is that the score, certainly the first run through of the score of the film, thanks to James, has been completed, which is excellent. So I think it's about 84 minutes of score, which not all of it is in the film, but nonetheless a significant milestone and achievement, and James has been up to Drift headquarters, and we've been going through putting the score into sort of the temporary cut, and that's really made a massive difference. I mean, a good score, you know, it's not about making or breaking your film, but certainly if your score isn't good, it will break your film. So that's gone down really well, and I'm looking forward to really trying to push the project forward and getting a test screening with an invited audience to sort of feedback on how the film is coming along, and not just in terms of does it look all right, but also does it make sense, and do they understand what's going on and the significance of certain twists within the film, certain plot points, character moments, and are they getting it? Who do they think is the bad guy or the good guy? What was the best bit? What was the worst bit? Where was the slowest bit in the movie? What bit didn't they understand? Or ask them specifically, was this bit clear? And there are things that Sue, who wrote the script, from the story, and I have discussed, and we're not sort of clear ourselves as to whether it makes sense. And the best way to find out is to ask someone who doesn't know anything about the movie, and better still, ask 50 people who don't know anything about the movie, and and see what they think of it. So that's kind of sort of lining up as well. Now that the score has been finished, that's moving us ever closer to that. We need a few more visual effects to be completed, at least at the pre-visual level, and that's because there are certain moments in the movie where it solely relies on a visual effect to tell the story at that stage. So without that being in place, then clearly the audience isn't going to get it. So we need to make sure that that's all good to go as well. But no, it has been a good sort of few weeks since the last Drift Diary. Things moving forward quite nicely, slowly but definitely, surely. And I'm just going to sit here with Nick and see how the movie's getting on.